Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to One Day Today. We are already on episode 45, going strong. I am very excited about both the guests we have sharing with us today. I hope you've all had a wonderful weekend. We're in September now. This year has been a interesting year to say the least. And way I see it in my experience of the world, there are many conversations of of a lot of chaos going on. There is suffering, there is fear, but there's also beauty. There's also people who are part of something greater than themselves. And despite and in the midst of pandemic and civil unrest, that's what we choose to focus on, is the people who are creating a new conversation in a new world. That's really the opportunity we have right now, is just the amount of openings and opportunity, and just the abundance of opportunity for connection, for community, and for collaboration. And that's where we're standing, and that's what we are about here at One Day. So welcome. I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm really excited to have both our guests share, but I'm going to invite our first guest. We have Batista. Hi, Batista.
Hi there, how are you?
I am fantastic. I'm so glad you're joining us. You doing well today?
I'm doing excellent. I'm very honored to be here with you today.
Oh, the honor and pleasure is all mine. And I'm just going to jump right in, if you're all right with it, and say, Batista, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you. Wow. So I got an opportunity to share a little bit of my journey, this life's journey, with your guests. So basically, if you wonder where my accent is from, I'm from the French part of Switzerland. I'll put that out there right from the get-go so you don't have to wonder. And basically, my story started a long, long time ago in Switzerland. When I was 3 years old, I became very enamored with dancing. My mother was a ballet dancer. My father was a mime. So I grew up on a small farm in Switzerland, but from a family of artists. My dream was always to be a dancer, and so that's what I did. I danced. When I was about 20 years old, I had a series of car accidents. I actually had 9 car accidents in a matter of a 2 years period of time. And don't worry, it wasn't my fault. So if you see me on the road, you don't have to change lane. It was more like a series of circumstances that forced me to kind of change my lifestyle and look deep into my life and my values. But what those car accidents did for me is they left me with a lot of injuries. But I love to dance, and so that's what I did. So over the next 30 years, basically, I had a really long, beautiful, fulfilling dance careers. I traveled the world, and I became a flamenco dancer, actually, because of the injuries. I couldn't pursue ballet. But what happened is, when I reached my mid-40s, the dancing compounding with the injury, with the car accident injuries, I found myself basically against the wall. The injuries just were not getting better. I was getting more and more in pain, and I was really basically facing losing my career. And another one of my passion is metaphysical science, spirituality, and meditation. And so when I wasn't dancing or at some type of therapy, chiropractor, massage, acupuncture, whatever, I was in a meditation, learning about self-development, spirituality. And one day in my late 40s, I had a moment of clarity. I was in a meditation class, and I looked around at the room, and I looked at myself, and I said to myself, I'm missing something. There's a piece of the puzzle missing to my life, because I am professionally successful. I'm spiritually successful, if you want to call it that, but I was kind of at peace with my spirituality. But my body was just not following up, it was just like, when you have a tripod and one of the leg is broken, then the tripod can't hold up. And that's the way I was feeling. I was feeling like one of that leg was missing, and that leg was literally my body. And in spirituality, we very often speak about the body, mind, spirit integration. And I looked at my body and I said, I'm missing that part. And it's not because I wasn't active. I was a dancer, so I was very active. I was always moving. I was, stretching, doing a lot of things. And I was also using positive mindset and eating healthy, but the injuries weren't getting any better. So I made an intention at that moment to find the piece of the puzzle that was missing that would really pretty much give me my body back. And that's when I met Dr. Fitness USA. The next day, actually, after making this intention, I met Dr. Fitness USA. And we met I was at a restaurant where I was going to put a show together, and I was waiting for the owner. And he walked by my table and he looked at me and he said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm Batista." And I said, "Well, who are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm an international body designer." So my jaw kind of dropped because the timing was amazing, right? The night before, I had made this huge intention. And so I said, "Well, that's what I need." So we pursued the conversation. And to make a long story short, really the conversation that I was hearing from him was very, very different than anything that I've heard in fitness. For me, as a professional dancer, I was in the no pain, no gain world. The show must go on. And the conversation that he was giving me was, oh, you have to work out from a female perspective. You have to never do anything that's uncomfortable. You have to stop giving and receive because the energy, male, female. And I was like completely confused because lifting weight and not doing anything that's uncomfortable just didn't fit in the same sentence. Lifting weight seemed really, really uncomfortable and hard. I didn't understand, but I had prayed for it. And one thing that I did learn over the years is that when you pray for something and something comes into your life, sometimes it doesn't appear in the way you imagined. And for me, it certainly what I had imagined or prayed for to help me with my body and my injuries certainly did not look like weightlifting. But I prayed for it, so I hired Dr. Fitness USA. And to make a long story short, I went in the gym with him. I engaged in the strength training program that he designed for me. And literally within a couple of weeks, my backache was gone. As a matter of fact, I think there was even less than a couple of weeks. And that was a backache of basically 35 years. And very shortly after that, all my injuries started to heal. I had a lot of injuries. I had a frozen shoulder, back, neck pain, knee, Achilles. I was a mess. And all my injuries started disappearing. So to make a long story short, I married him and I made a career transition. I was fascinated with the process. And in the process, I started researching, writing. And as a matter of fact, one of my book is Feminine Body Design, Empowering Fitness for a Pain-Free Life. And basically, this book dispels the myth about fitness and specifically women fitness. And so when I met Dr. Fitness USA, the programs were taught in the gym. They were taught one-on-one. They were very customized, and there was quite a large investment. And my vision was to basically make this program available to more people And so for 8 years, I proceeded in studying and working very closely with Stephen. His name, by the way, is Stephen Hersey. And I proceeded to work very closely with him to see the commonality between the formulas, the training programs. And I'm really excited that 3 years ago, actually, we were able to put the programs online. So we've been offering those programs now online for a little over 3 years. So we've done a lot of podcasts and a lot of social media to get people to be aware of the program. And now we have students in Africa, in Belgium, in France, in Canada. And of course, while we were still working online, we were still teaching people to work out from a gym environment. And so, of course, when the pandemic happened, all the gyms closed, and we had to really shift the business and everything like big time and really fast, because we always worked out from the gym, and we didn't have any equipment at home. We had basically just one 12-pound dumbbell, and it was like we had to shift real quick and do something real fast. And so what we did is we put Stephen's genius back to work to really formulate new programs that could be done at home. And that was a real challenge, because if you know me, you know that even though I think I look pretty feminine, and I actually, when I am in the gym, I leg press 650 pounds and chest press 135 pounds. And last time I looked, I didn't look like a bodybuilder, but I really love lifting that heavy weight, because when you actually lift that heavy weight, it creates neurons to the brain. It makes you feel so good, and it's actually more like a meditation. And so at home, it was a real challenge to try to reproduce the same feelings that we got at the gym. But I'm very excited to say that we now offer programs that can be done at home. And so we've put master classes together, and courses, group courses. Through our research, we found out that people were really wanting community. And so now we offer master classes. And actually, I have an offer for your guest, is that I have a class that I offer, and I usually charge $97 for the class. And I would like to offer for the listeners of this wonderful event to come to attend the class for only $1. And then, of course, we have other classes and courses. We have a 6 weeks course that now we offer. And so there is hope for being pain-free. And that's my message to the world. I think that a lot of people are thinking that are taking pain for granted. I sure did. For a long, long time, I really pretty much resigned myself to be in pain. And so, you know what they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So if you're hearing this message and you have pain and you want to break through self-imposed limitations, there is hope. And so I would like to invite you to visit our website, drfitnessinternational.com, and come and have a consultation with us. And there is hope. So our motto is, if your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, then Dr. Fitness USA can help you achieve it. So that's my story, and I'm so excited to be here to share with everybody some hope. And let's see, what else do I have to say? Come and join us in our masterclass. The next masterclass is actually Thursday. This coming Thursday, September 3rd, from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. So a lot of times, and I know another things that I want to talk about is oftentimes people say, why do you have to lift weight? What are the benefits of lifting weight? And we can look at it like, you know, muscle mass strength is what we start losing as of age 30. So if you're not building strength, then you're losing strength. So the thing that you want to do when you think about your fitness routine, you want to look at it like from a perspective of building a foundation, not only decorating the house or just thinking about diets or aerobic. You want to actually work on posture. You want to work on strength. You want to work on the things that are going to sustain you through the years to come. So in our fitness, we look at the fitness like we would look at a business. You want to think about, where do I want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, so it's not about achieve the body of your dream in 90 days. You have to look ahead, you have to plan ahead, and you have to literally think long term. So this is one of the things that we teach people. We teach people to stay in the moment and to not multitask, to really take that moment, like putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, because so many people are looking outside of the box and they say, oh, when my business is put together, when my website is together, when my kids are in college, then I will have time for myself. But basically, if you don't put yourself first, then you really have nothing to offer. So that's what we always tell people, to put yourself first. Make yourself a priority. Put your workout, the time for yourself, on your schedule. We always say, if it's not on the schedule, it's just simply not going to happen. The days are going to go by and you're going to miss the boat. And oops, I think my time is up.
Thank you, Batista, for sharing your story and all that. There's so many things that really come to mind. But first of all, just like, thank you for sharing, just from your your experiences of, the car accidents to, I can absolutely relate to, when you were successful in your career. Like I had a similar situation with my music. Like I was touring the world, touring the US, but there was still something deeper that I didn't even know that I felt something was missing, but it was like, there's something more to the picture. And I wanted to ask you more about that. Like, because it sounded like standing on the other end of this whole journey, what you discovered is not only having being fully in your own power, but it sounds like it, what you just said at the end, it's like, it's being pain-free. And it's like, it's you've overcome your own pain, and now you're sharing this with other people that they can do it as well. When did you recognize at what point did you experience that all that journey, that you saw your own power and you saw your own self for who you fully complete as you see yourself now?
Well, first of all, to get rid of the backache in such a short amount of time was like, wow. I couldn't believe it, because when you're in pain for so long and then all of a sudden there's no pain, you just go like, but it took a while to own it. Okay. And especially to own it in a way where I feel that I have something to offer to other people and I have the knowledge, because really Stephen, Dr. Fitness USA, he's the founder, he's like the genius behind it. And I was a dancer. I didn't know, even though I had worked with personal trainers, I'd been in the gym, I had a lot of experience, I didn't know much about strength training. And so I said, well, I have this, but now what do I do with it? There was
Right.
there was a calling. My God, people need to know about this. And I have to say that it took me quite some time. Okay. So I made a career transition because it seemed like the right thing to do, and we got married and all this. But really, I think that it's really only in the last couple of years that I started owning the knowledge and say, yeah, yes, yes, this is who I am now, and I have that gift to offer. So it took a while.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing journey.
Oh, yes.
That's amazing. So you found your way out of, your, obviously the things that you experienced from the accidents, all the pain in your, was it your back and your
back, neck, shoulder, knees, and Achilles.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful that you're able to overcome that and, be in your body. And, when the body, although it is separate from, our emotions, and is separate from our spiritual realm, it very much affects our physical world, and our ailments affect our quality of life in all the other aspects of our life. And so like I've experienced that, my own, in all the things I'm taking on, all my commitments, I notice when I don't, when I'm not fully balanced with whether it's nutrition or with my exercising, I'm cooped up and have Zoom fatigue from being in meetings all day, just sitting down. Like I have a stand-up desk now, but like I notice the effect, not focusing on my health and my body. And like, I really notice I'm less creative. I'm less able to be expressed. I'm more in my head. I more second guess myself. And it's something that I wouldn't just like overtly associate, but I really feel it. Like when I don't get enough sleep, or if I don't get a quality exercise, right. And it's really powerful that you were able to experience that healing, but you're also, committing your career and, what you're up to in your life now is sharing that gift and helping others. So I just acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all connected. The emotions, the physical, really, it is all connected. And when you can put the body back into balance, the way we are talking about, it also tremendously helps with the emotions, because every emotions really creates an emotion. So when we design program for people, we really do it from a feel good perspective, with ergonomics, so the body feels supported, so the mind feels at peace, and then you can become strong really fast because the body feels good, but it strengthens the emotions. So the way we explain it is like it's like rewiring your house, because when the nervous system is on overload with pandemic, stress, obligations, Zoom, or whatever, and then you plug in more appliances like more Zoom, more obligations, or even fitness, more, come on, let's do it, let's go, right? Then it's kind of like plugging in another appliance, and your nervous system, you blow a fuse, like the electrical panel in the house that's outdated. So the way we look at the fitness is really rewiring your nervous system so that your body can heal, because it's the nervous system really that's responsible for the healing of the body. So it's really deep, actually. It's super deep knowledge.
Right.
Did that make sense?
That's powerful. Yeah, absolutely. No, it is deep, and it's, we humans, there's a lot of things you said that stood out, but in particular, just not multitasking. How like a lot of the time, like exercise for me in my life, in my journey of just discovering what works for me, but also what I get the most effect of feeling good and, and being in shape is, when I actually focus on in the moment when I'm exercising, as opposed to if I'm multitasking, if I'm like listening to music and I'm thinking about this and texting or doing this, it's like you're not going to get as much out of it. I mean, aside from the physical results, but it's like the release that comes from just the applying your full attention to, each muscle fiber, even in a cardio workout or just a strength workout. It's like that makes all the difference in being not only being healthy, but just being physically feeling strong, but like mentally and physically. It's like like they support each other so strongly, and no pun intended. But I really appreciate you sharing this with us. We're gonna check back in with you in a little bit. We're gonna invite our next guest on here. But thank you so much, Batista, for sharing with us. I really just appreciate you being here and sharing who you are and what you're up to. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Batista.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you again, Batista. And for all of you tuning in, thank you for being with us. This is an opportunity I'd like to take to invite you, share your story, share your gift, share your unique genius with us. And I might be a little bit selfish, but I want to receive what you have that enriches us all. It enriches me. It enriches my neighbor. It enriches without us even knowing it. Who we are, and when we share ourselves vulnerably and authentically, our story, what we overcame, we all benefit from the experience of you knowing yourself as the gift that you are. And that's why this stage is here. So I invite you. This is an open invitation. We will be accepted on this stage with open, radical acceptance, with love and compassion, to just share the gift that you are, with a space that's safe to be vulnerable and to share yourself authentically. And this is an open invitation. But if you'd like to join, I welcome you. Go to onedaymvmt.org/share-my-gift. And that's why we're here. And that's part of our one-day mission, which is bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. And that's what we're here for. One story at a time, one share at a time. Now I would like to welcome our next guest. I'm really excited. We have Lynn Sanders. Hello, Lynn. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you. We were talking earlier today, and I'm really excited to hear your share and your story. And I got a little sneak peek, but all about my own value, my own worth is something that, the conversation within me that I've faced much of my life. So I'm really looking forward to hearing you share.
Thank you.
Well, without further ado, Lynn, the stage is yours.
Oh, thank you again. Hello, everyone. Lynn Sanders here. And I want to ask you a question. What story do you choose to believe about yourself? That's right. Your story is your power. And as Abram said, he wants everyone to share their stories because we can learn lessons from our stories. And even though we may perceive things about ourselves that aren't great, we all have greatness within us. We all choose our beliefs. And so I'm going to invite you to think about yourself as I tell you my story, and I want you to recognize something. And that's 6 words I'd like you to remember from a very famous motivational speaker and teacher, Earl Nightingale. And he said, if you don't remember anything I've taught you, remember these 6 words. You become what you think about. You become what you think about. At age 11, my inner thoughts were suddenly about to change by a very casual comment in my home. I asked my mother if I could have a bat mitzvah. It's a traditional ceremony, a rite of passage to show that you've gone from being a child to a grown-up. My brothers were going to have their bar mitzvah, they're younger, and she just very casually said to me, well, it's really not that important for girls. You don't need to have one. And I was too young and too really shy to think of speaking up to say, I really want to do this for myself. So the thought pattern that rested within my brain was, I'm not good enough because it's not important for girls. And I never realized why throughout the years as I was growing up, I never felt good enough. And so to overcompensate from this feeling inside, I had to become an overachiever. I worked very hard. I got on the honor roll. When I got older and graduated with honors from college, I had to really do my best and more than surpass expectations, which was great for people who were all around me. I worked for a commercial music company. I wrote the Channel 9 lyrics, Chicago's very own Channel 9 with Lou Rawls, and he signed a lead sheet. Lynn, it's great. Hang on in there. And I felt good to hear that, but I felt like I had to get acknowledgement from others because inside myself, that recorded message was still going, not good enough. How do I get rid of it when I didn't even know it existed? Well, I help clients all over the area. I'm in Chicago and beyond, attract six-figure donations, double their memberships, attract more followers. Do you think inside I was feeling good enough? Actually, not always, even though I worked on it. But then something very traumatic happened that turned my life upside down. In December of 2004, 3 very significant people suddenly died. Just shook up my world. One of my best friends from high school, my former employer, a composer who I loved very much, and then my mother suddenly out of the blue had a heart attack. And literally, when she passed away, I felt my own heart pulling out of my chest, felt physical pain. It was like part of me was going. And to top it off, which was such a horrible, difficult time, my father couldn't cope with this sudden loss, and he decided he would blame my husband and me because we're into health. And he thought that we had known something about my mother's heart condition, and so he started sending me hate emails. I don't publicly share this very often, but I've started to be open about it because these are all things that happened internally that affected me externally. As our previous speaker just said, you know, what happens on the inside affects you on the outside. And as a feeling of being lost, losing my foundation, my mother and my father mentally, I ended up having 3 slip discs and could barely walk. I went to different people to get healing, and people said, well, you could get surgery, but I didn't want to go through that process. And through my search, I found an energy healer, and he made me question my beliefs. And the first thing he said to me was, Lynn, do you want to live? And I really thought, well, I wasn't really sure. And he said, well, it's up to you. You know, you could be living, but not really living. How would your mother want you to live? Would she want you to live like this and be depressed your whole life? And I realized he was right. How could I best honor my mother's memory? And I decided at that moment I had to live to my fullest. And beyond that, not only did I have to claim my value, but I had to help others during Earth because I was suddenly awakened to the fact that we only have so much time on Earth. Well, what happened was I decided to claim my own value by having my own adult bat mitzvah, which made me feel really great that I could claim to be a grown-up even at an adult age and do good deeds and heal the world, because that is a commandment in our Jewish religion to do good deeds. Beyond that, I started doing a lot of work helping nonprofits, but I was suddenly given another challenge. It was like the universe was saying, prove it that you want to do good in the world. I had a sudden ruptured appendix at the Denver airport, even though I had been at the emergency room in the hospital the night before. And luckily, I didn't go on that plane. I was planning to board the plane in Denver, but for some unknown reason, and I think it was my mother on the other side, the flight was canceled 3 times at the gate. And people say there's a meaning in threes. So as I was whisked off by ambulance to the hospital and had emergency surgery, I was saved. And I was, my family had been with me in Denver, but they had to go back home. So I was alone in the hospital for about a week. And during that time, I had 2 dreams, 2 with my mother. And she sang a beautiful song in one of the dreams, and part of it was from a biblical quote. And the words were, "This is the day that God hath made." And then she put in other words that reflected our relationship. I went home to think about those words. This is the day, We all have this day, just like today. We have one day. We don't know what tomorrow brings, but we need to do what we can today. Today is where we place our value. In fact, there's a saying that our gift is the present. That's what it really is. So with that dream from her and that encouragement to go forward, I have since gone forward and I've become a best-selling author of a children's book brought here, Dancing with Tex, The Remarkable Friendship to Save the Whooping Cranes, a true friendship story between a man and a bird and how their dancing relationship helped save the whooping cranes from extinction. It took me 20 years to get that book done. I didn't work on it constantly, but I had to have the belief in myself that I could get it done and do it well. And it became a bestseller, and I won an award for it from the Illinois Conservation Foundation as their Conservation Author of the Year. In 2018, one of my best friends passed away, and he never got his story out. So I self-published it for him. And he was my wingman for my Difference Makers show. I want to show it to you. It's called Roland's Story, Inspired by a Stroke, a memoir of hope, healing, and transformation. Roland was like my little guru through the computer, and he would encourage me. And even though half of his body was paralyzed on the right side from a third stroke, he realized that we choose our emotions in life, and we can choose to expand in joy. And he always had a smile on his face. He's always joking and helping people feel good. So when he suddenly passed away, I knew I had to publish his story. And I'm really glad I did it. It's quite an inspirational story. And he actually visited me on the day of his passing in the form of a butterfly, because I'm open, and I hope you are open to signs from the other side. And I was speaking on a cell phone to my husband that day that he passed away, crying. And holding the phone with my right hand, I looked, and on my left hand, a beautiful black butterfly with a gold stripe just landed on my wrist and sat there. And then I knew it was a sign from him that he was okay and he was doing fine, and he wanted me to keep moving forward. So my greatest wish for all of you is, as I mentioned, you become what you think about. And I want you to recognize your inner greatness. Our world needs to hear your positive stories. As I was mentioning earlier to Abram, every word, every thought, every action carries a vibration, and that vibration affects us at a cellular level. I got healed from an energy healer because I changed my thinking, and by changing my thinking, I healed my body. So I invite all of you to consider, what is your story? No matter what challenges you've gone through, what did you learn from your story that you can teach others? Because our world needs right now more than ever to hear positive stories. They want to hear what you've gone through and what you've learned so that they too can have faith, belief, and perseverance in their dreams. I believe each of you can make a difference in the world. And that's why I changed my company name from originally Park Avenue Productions and Park Avenue Marketing to Difference Makers Media. I want to help you make a bigger difference. And you can learn more by going to my website, differencemakersmedia.com, and sign up for my free 7-step story strategy guide, as well as receive ongoing tips. Because we all need to have someone at our side to believe in us, to know that we all make a difference. So go forward, make a difference, sign up and connect with me, and I would be very happy to help you tell your stories and make a bigger difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. That was amazing. Your whole story, just, you're inspiring, just who you are being and how you've channeled all of your experiences into this beautiful being that you are, and what you do and what you spend your time doing. And I mean, there's so many things that you said, but something that resonates with me and that I've recognized a lot is basically what you just said, is every word we make, every word we say, every word we make, kept or broken, every handshake or fist we extend, every smile, smirk, or frown has an effect and ripples across the entire universe. And it's like, what blows my mind is if we all recognize that power that each of us have right now, and right now with that, it's something that and that's kind of where my heart is coming from in One Day, is that when we all can actually recognize ourselves for who we are with that power, and when we are intentional showing up, in to ourselves, but also to our loved ones, to our communities, to our world, like what's possible, what can we create from that paradigm? And I think that just inspires me. And I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that. But also, when that it sounds like that your book, your best-selling book, what's it called? Dancing with Text.
So just, I wrote 3 books. Well, I wrote 2 and they helped publish. So this is my first book that I did as a work for hire, because I feel very strongly about justice, social justice, how you can make a difference. It was part of a series by Capstone Press. This book was inspired by a conversation with Dr. George Archibald at the International Crane Foundation. I was on a video shoot capturing his importance of helping save all the cranes, and off camera he told me how he helped save the whooping cranes from extinction, and he had been friends with a rare bird, and I didn't believe him. But in my effort to get the story just right, it took a long time, and I went through a number of rejection slips. So I put the story aside until finally, at my son's urging, he said, well, why don't you just forget that story? And I thought, when I die, will I regret that I didn't publish it? That was my framework. And I thought, yes, I've got to do whatever it takes. And so I then went forward and published the story. And actually, in the middle of doing that book, our younger son had a stroke. He had a stroke, and he was unconscious for 3 days. And I kept moving ahead with the story after we'd leave the hospital.
Wow.
Because we only have so much time. But again, it just made me aware that let's do what we can while we're here. Right. And that, as you said, everything that we do does carry a vibration. I myself experienced it, having 3 slipped discs just from negative emotion. Depression, anxiety, fear, anger, it's all negative. So if we allow ourselves to subject ourselves to this negative news that's all around us, we need to take a break, because it will affect us. It will affect us on a physical level if we let it.
Right. Yeah. When we focus on the fear, focus on the resentment, focus on the worry, focus on the anxiety, that's what we experience. And it's, it's remarkable. I mean, especially with so many things happening in the world, and a lot exacerbated conversations of division and separateness. There's a lot of amazing things happening in the world, especially if you're looking for it. But there's still some people that are lost and trapped in their own, marinating into that story, into that negative, divisive conversation. And I guess how does one, either individually or as a society, point others to that experience of their own power?
So I think we need to pull our focus on what is possible and on the positive. We have to look for it. So when we find solutions, we have to look at ways we can come together. We're all different on the outside, but how are we on the inside? And maybe not everyone is as evolved as you are, Abram, in recognizing that we exist not only on a physical level, but a spiritual level. We're not just physical, we're physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So we can connect deeply, even if we've never met each other, because we're connecting on a spiritual level. So to bring the world together, I think we all need to recognize that we're all one. So there's a Jewish prayer that says we are one. If we realize that we all are a part of each other, then we wouldn't be reaching out to hurt each other. We would say, what's the common trait we all have? We're all part of one God or one source, one divinity. And let's come together and respect each other. We're here for a reason, to learn from each other.
Right. There's a Jewish principle. You're probably more familiar than I with it, but Tikkun Olam. Are you familiar?
Right. Yes, that's what I was saying when I wanted to become a bat mitzvah. That's the commandment of doing good to heal the world.
Exactly. Heal the world, fix the world. And that was the energy in the space that I really felt called without even knowing it. That was where One Day came from. It's like, what can I do today to plant seeds of joy for others, for myself, for my family, for people I don't even know, for people that I don't even necessarily like people that I don't even like. What can I do to make the world better for everybody? And then what can I also do to remove suffering or alleviate suffering from my friends, from my family, from the people I don't even know? From for me, it's a beautiful thing. And well, I guess just on that side of, from Judaism, when I my father's Jewish. I wasn't raised with any spiritual practice. I didn't have a bar mitzvah. I had the culture and the traditions, but I was always like I didn't really dive into looking into, my own heritage and my own, like, into scripture until more recently in my life. And it was interesting. I had one of my Jewish aunts. I was talking to her at Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, kind of telling her in the midst of my existential inquiry and my own spiritual journey and my searching. I was searching for truth, but reading and studying and watching lectures on psychology, philosophy, theology, religious study, just like I want to hear it all, even and especially the opinions I don't understand and I don't agree with. Like, I want to know, like, all I know is that I don't know, and I want to just hear it all. And in that space, I was like telling my aunt about this, and she pointed me to a scripture. And at this point, I hadn't even read the full Old or New Testament. I was still just diving in, and she pointed me to, I think it was Genesis 12:1, where before he was Abraham, he was Abram. And I don't remember the exact text in English, but she pointed me to this text. It's like, go where God said to Abram, go from your father's household, and I'm butchering the word, but you'll start a nation in your name. But basically, she said, look at the Hebrew translation of this, and I was curious, and I did. But she pointed, what it's in Hebrew, it is Lech Lecha, Abram, which literally translates to go to yourself, like go. And it's like, it hit me, and I was like, it's funny that, like, it happens to be this person named Abram, and I'm sure a lot of people named Abram, and a lot of people have to learn and hear that exact same thing. But it occurred to me as, like, I was living my life as someone who I thought I was, as a story who I identified with from a younger, 5-year-old adolescent mind. I was seeing the world through the frame that my younger, shadow self had set up without me even realizing it. And coming into my own power, recognizing myself for who I truly am, came with that realization that I was living in a story that, that I didn't even realize. And,
this is really interesting. You said, so you're starting a movement, and that's why I resonate with you, because you're starting a movement to bring people together. And so you say coincidentally, your name is Abram, but what I have learned is that our spirit chooses our name and whispers it into our parents' ear before we're born. So your name carries a vibration too. Every letter of a name carries vibrations. So that's so interesting. I hadn't thought of that before. Abram, right, was the original name for Abraham, and you're bringing a nation together here, bringing people together, which is all about doing good in the world and healing the world. And that's why I resonated when I first spoke with you, because we have similar passions to do good in the world. And you're bringing it out for everyone to see, so we can all get inspired. I love that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate that. I'm going to bring Batista back in so we can have a little round table here. Hello again, Batista. Welcome back.
Well, hello. What a story. Woo. I love it.
Thank you. Well, I could resonate with you're going through physical stress and getting healing, because I had that happen to me in a very roundabout way. So
yes. Yeah, it's all about healing physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's all connected.
Right. And the lessons we learn from them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's and that's something, I mean, I was talking to Batista earlier, but this kind of ties it together, is, the toxicity in our physical space, our emotional space, our psychological space, and our spiritual space, it leaks over. Like the toxicity we experience in our own space, we also bring into our external physical space. And I found no exception to that. No, I'm recognizing that within myself, inauthenticities or lies I told myself, that I pretended that everything was good in my life, pretended that I was fulfilled, pretended that, just the story of my own growth of being able to come into my own skin came with recognizing and actually looking at my blind spots, looking at where I wasn't showing up. And that's something that's really scary, and it's uncomfortable because it's usually the one thing that you don't want to face that is actually the thing that is the barrier to actually access the authentic self. And that was my experience, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on all of that.
Well, the thing that I experienced with the strength training program and breaking through self-imposed limitation is that we get people to really go past things that they think are possible. But what I can say is, and what I've learned, and I learned this through this, I studied Kabbalah, by the way, for a long time as well. I was always very drawn to the knowledge. But what I have learned is that we do store emotions in the tissues in the body, and so we know the idea that we can release some of these emotions through some types of massages and things where you can release, the energy that's trapped in the muscles. But what I found is that when you're pushing against weight, and it's quite a bit of weight, but the body is protected and is ergonomically safe, and so you put it into balance, because you can literally realign the spine and clear the neuromuscular pathways to the brain, right? Because when you put the body back into balance, then it has the capability to actually regenerate brain cells and recreate neurons in the brains, and the research on that, but also to release emotions trapped in the body. So while a lot of times in spirituality, we approach the topic from thinking, like what you think you achieve, or in those principles, in the way that we approach it is just get strong, go train, work out in a specific way, release the emotions, strengthen your nervous system, and all of a sudden the mind feels like, oh, that feels good. And it's in a way approaching the same topic, but from a different perspective, from the body's point of view. It's like when people want to lose weight, a lot of people say, oh, I have to go on diet, I have to do this, I have to do that. And this is not the cause of the problem, right? We know there's underlying cause. For us, we say, just get your body strong, strengthen your nervous system, strengthen your emotion, feel better in your own skin. You're going to want to eat better. You know what I mean? So it's kind of looking at the same topic, but really approaching it from another angle. So that's my 2 cents on this.
Well, I would add on to that too, is that sometimes we're just not ready to do action on our own. When my mother passed away, I couldn't do anything. I wanted to hide under the floor. I went to a grief counselor, wasn't quite right, and I found the right person. I couldn't sit in a chair. I had to lie on the floor with my knees up because I was in such pain. But it helped to have someone to talk to. And I was getting counseling for over a year to deal with the inner, upset and turmoil that I had felt. And so even in business, and dealing with my father's anger, I read a wonderful book called Radical Forgiveness, which it's great, by Colin Tipping. It was all about seeing the gift in a negative situation and being able to forgive someone even from afar, so you can recognize, what did I learn from this? So I think that, like you're saying, you want to get stronger. Sometimes your mind isn't ready. And so in that situation, I think it's really important to get together with people who can help you in any capacity, whether it's coaching physically or mental coaching. Everything starts from the mind. We have our stories grow from the inside out. We heal from the inside out. So what I would say is, whatever you're going through, if you need help, find someone who can help you, who's gone through experiences and can give you solutions. And then you can go beyond that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we close, I wanted to ask you, both of you, a question. And so I'm reframing this. So I welcome any revision to this question, because usually I ask, what does one day mean to you? But I want to kind of revisit this and kind of frame it this way. What is your one day today? Do you understand what I mean when I ask that? So this is why I'm glad this is an experiment. So usually collectively, usually when we use the phrase one day, we're usually referring to the future. Like one day I'll be in shape. One day I'll follow my dreams. One day I'll have this or have that, projecting this outcome that we desire, but at the same time, avoiding any responsibility in that said future. And that's why our tagline is one day is today. One day is a way of being, not a way of doing. And so it's like, who are you being today is maybe another way to ask that question. But like, what is your one day today? Who are you today in one day is maybe another way to ask it. Does that make more sense?
I think so.
You want to give it a shot?
I think it's very interesting. I have to use the word being, because my mother would say that. She'd say, Lynn, why do you always have to be doing so many things? Can't you just be? Mm. And it made me think. So if you want to say, what are we being today? Is that the question?
It's like, it's not only what are you being today, but it's almost like the gift that you shared that you are. How would you describe that in like a sentence? Like who you're being in one day,
okay,
which is every day, but it's today that we are. It is the right now being. Like does that make sense? Is this kind of a metaphysical question?
So do you want me to go first or Batista?
Well, Batista. I can go first. I think, I mean, for me, it's just about walking the talk, and staying in the present, and just really, there's a lot of people that just are always looking outside of themselves, and always, it's about being inside oneself, and not just operating from thinking and up here, but reconnecting. For me, it has to do with going to the gym or doing my workout, staying consistent, walking the talk. I don't ever tell people to do something I'm not doing myself. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect or anything, but it's about at least doing the best I can today. And if you ask Stephen, we're not perfect, right? We're like, oh, I have so much to do, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like, because there is so much to do, but it's to step back and just stop multitasking, doing one thing at a time, prioritizing, and doing that consistently every day. Today.
I love it.
I love it. That's good. Well, I would say for me, one day means believe in yourself today. Know that you make a difference. Learn from your stories and be willing to open up and share them, because the world needs to hear your stories. And my tagline is, you change the world through your stories. You can change the world by sharing your stories, even one at a time.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you both so much. I really just honor and appreciate you both being here and sharing your story, sharing yourself, sharing your gifts and your genius with us. It means so much to me. It's been a wonderful conversation. Just thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you both come back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you again to our guests for being here with us today, and thank you for tuning in with us. I'd again like to invite you to share your gift, share your story on this stage. That's why we're here, is to share the gift that you are. Like Lynn was saying, Your story can change the world. Who you are and how you share what you've been through, we all gain, we all learn from. And it's a gift that keeps on giving. It is the gift of transformation when we share ourselves authentically from a vulnerable, true place. And it's, in my experience, it's that I can't help but hold this stage open because I've experienced that power myself, because I was afraid to share it first. And every time I do, someone else connects with me. Someone else sees themselves in me. And it's like when I hear people share, every time we have a guest, I learn something new. I have a greater insight. So I feel like I am humbled by just the gifts and the lessons I learn every day. And again, maybe I'm selfish, but I want your gifts because I want to share you. I want to share the gift that you are. And that's what we're doing here one day. And that's part of our vision, which is humanity rising in a connected world with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. Thank you all for being here with us. Thank you again to Batista and Lynn. I love you all. Be safe, be well, and we will see you again on Thursday. And as always, one day is today.